Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to day 2. We are going to be looking at cones today, and we're going to be finding two things about cones. We're going to find the surface area and the volume, and we're going to start by looking at the volume, okay? And so volume is the amount of space that is inside of a three-dimensional figure. And so because we're talking about cones, I want you to imagine having an ice cream cone filled with your favorite ice cream. Maybe it's strawberry, maybe it's chocolate, maybe it is cookies and cream. I know that's my favorite. And so the volume is how much ice cream would be able to fill the inside of your cone if you have an ice cream cone, okay? And so we're gonna figure out how we calculate the volume. And you do so by using the formula, okay? And so really quickly on your sheet, you have this formula. The formula is volume equals 1/3 pi times the radius squared times the height. Okay, and so this is what's going to be on your formula sheet that you will be given to you on the SOL as well as on the test. And these are the volume formulas for both a cone and a cylinder. Now, cylinder is what we're going to talk about next time, but these are the two volume formulas, okay? So again, we're going to focus on the volume of a cone today, okay? So really quickly, I want to make sure that we understand what each of these represent. The R is the radius, and the H is the height. And so all we're going to need to do is we're going to figure out, okay, given our cone, what is our radius, what is our height, and then we know pi, we can either use the pi button or we can use 3.14 for pi, all right? And so all we got to do to find the volume is to take our information and plug it into our formulas. So let's actually take a look at a couple problems, all right? So this is a cone, and it gives me what my dimensions are. This is the radius, this is the height, okay? And so step 1 is we just need to decide which formula to use. I'm going to encourage you, always start by writing the formula that you are using, okay? So we're finding the volume of this cone, so we're going to start by writing the formula for volume. Volume is, again, go back to my formula sheet, right? 1/3 pi radius squared times the height, okay? So that is the formula that we need to use for volume, okay? Now, step 2 is we need to identify the information we're given. In other words, okay, what do I have here, all right? Well, I have my radius. Again, my radius, remember, radius goes from the outside of the circle to the point in the middle, okay? So that is my radius, all right? We're always looking for where the circle is, and the radius goes from the outside of the circle to the middle, all right? The height is straight up and down, how tall it is, and that is my height, where that dotted line is, okay? Now, step 3 is I'm gonna substitute my values in for the variable. So start by rewriting the formula, right? So V equals 1/3 times pi is going to be 3.14. Okay. My radius, again, is 3. And I'm going to do 3 squared. Okay. And then my height is 10. And so once I get there, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and I'm going to plug it into my calculator. I'm going to plug it into Desmos. And so let me pull up Desmos so you can just see this demonstrated, okay? So again, we got 1/3, and we're going to go parenthesis, times, then it was 3.14 times our radius. Sorry, I forgot what the radius was. The radius was 3, right? So 3 squared. And then Okay, I didn't put parentheses around, actually, just for the sake of consistency, we put 3 squared, and then parenthesis times the height, and the height was 10. Yes, it was 10. Ooh, sugar. All right, it was 10. All right. So I just, again, plug that into Desmos, and it gives me, my answer is 94.2. So 94.2, okay, is the volume. And guys, that is it. All right. So that's all we got to do is just take our information and plug it into our formulas. Now, there is one thing that the problem could do to try to trick you. So I want to draw that to your attention with this next one. Okay. So we're going to do the same steps. Okay. But I'll point out we have a little bit more information. Okay. So here in this one, we got this. We have this goes from one side of the circle to the other. So that is actually the diameter and not the radius. And we're going to talk about that. But we also have this slanted height right there, that slanted length. And we're going to talk about that as well. So let's start by our steps, which in order to find the volume of this cone, I need to use my formula. Volume is 1/3 pi r squared times the height. Okay, so that is my formula. Start by writing it down. I want you to write the formula down each time. Okay, now over here, this, again, I need to know what my radius is and what my height is. Okay, again, friends, this right here, when it goes from, the radius is when it goes from the outside of the circle to the middle. Okay, but this goes from one side to the other side. So what I got to do to find my radius is I have to cut that in half. Okay. So my radius would be half of this. Okay, this is my radius. Right. So half of 11, I take 11 divided by 2, or just cut it in half. That would be 5.5. So my radius is 5.5 here, okay, because that's half of 11. My height, okay, again, my height is going to be when it is straight up and down. This is what's called the slant height, okay, but because this is slanted, we're not using the slant height, we're using the height. So the height would be 8. So now I need to plug these into my formula. So the volume equals 1/3 times pi is 3.14 times the radius is 5.5. So it's 5.5 squared times the height, which is times 8. Okay. And so then I am going to take that and I'm going to plug that into my calculator. Okay. Clear this. So again, we got 1/3, okay, times 3.14 times 5.5 squared. Again, don't forget to square that. Okay, this is the radius squared, and then times 8. And that gives me 253.29, and that is my answer. That is the answer. So 253.29 is the volume. Okay. So friends, that is what we need to do whenever we are finding the volume of a cone. Okay. So what I want you to do is there are 3 practice problems. All right. And so I want you to work these out on your own. That is the end of the video, but it's not the end of your work. So I want you to go ahead, work these out. Start by writing your formula. Start by figuring out, okay, what information do you need to use? and then plug it into the calculator, and that gives you your answer. All right, so go ahead and do that, and that is the end for finding the volume of a cone. To part 2 of day 2. Hey, we're going to continue talking about cones, but this time we are looking at the surface area. Imagine you got your favorite ice cream cone, and the cone isn't just any cone, it is a waffle cone, all right? And so if we're finding the surface area, really what we're talking about is we're talking about the amount of the waffle cone, like the outside of it, right? So around the outside of this ice cream cone, okay? That is surface area, right? So we have formulas for calculating surface area. Now, again, on your formula sheet, you're going to be given the surface area formula for both a cylinder and a cone. We're going to get back to cylinder in the next lesson, but today we're just looking at cones, all right? So the formula that we need to pay attention to is the one on the right. The formula is surface area equals pi, which is always 3.14. The radius is the radius of the cone, which is this little part right here, okay? And then pi is always 3.4. The radius, again, is the from the outside of the circle to the middle. And then the L, okay, we did not use L for volume. L is what's called the slant height, all right? The slant height is this L, okay, not to be confused with the height, all right? So those are different, and it's going to be important that you actually use the correct one, all right? So same steps for surface area as was for volume. The only difference is there's a different formula, okay? So we're going to start by, the question says find the surface area of this cone. I'm going to start by writing the formula that I need for cone. So the surface area of a cone is the volume, the formula is pi r squared plus pi r times L, okay, times the slant height, all right? And so now we're going to use the variables over here to identify what we have. So we have the radius is 4, all right? And then the slant height, okay, the slant height is 10, okay? Those are the two things that we need, right? And then we're going to just substitute those into the formula. So we got 3 pi is 3.14. The radius is 4 squared plus pi, again, 3.14 times the radius, which is, again, 4. And then the slant height, which is 10. And so then I'm going to take that and I am going to plug that into my calculator. All right. And so, again, I have 3.14 times 4 squared plus 3.14 times 4 times 10 slit height. And then that gives me my answer, which is 175 and 84 hundredths. All right, so that's it. All we got to do is we figure out our formula and we substitute our values into our formula. All right. So let's look at one more. Again, the only way that you can sort of be tricked is by sometimes it might give you some extra information, more than what you need. So let's look at example number 2 to make sure that we understand. All right. So the formula, again, find the surface area of the cone. So again, you just got to make sure that you start with the right formula. The formula for surface area is pi r squared plus pi r, then the L, the slant height. Okay, so let's go to the left. Make sure we have what we need. The formula. So again, I need the R and the L. Okay, now the R, remember the R goes halfway. Okay, so this is the diameter. You don't need the diameter, you need the radius. So we got to take half of that. So half of 12 would be 6. So 6 is my radius, and then my L, my slant height is 9. Okay, again, now you got to remember it's the slant height. All right. So then I take that and I just substitute those numbers in. I just plug them in. So the surface area, pi is 3.14. The radius is 6, and then we got to square that, plus 3.14 times the radius, which is 6, and then the slant height is 9. And so then I'm going to take that and I'm going to plug it in to Desmos. So let's do that. So we got 3.14 times 6 squared, the radius squared, times, then plus pi again. So 3.14 times the radius times the slant height, which is 9. And that gives me my answer, which is 282.6. All right. 282.6. All right. So there you have it. That is how you find the surface area of a cone. All right. So just like last time, you have 3 examples. All right. Remember, I want you to start by writing the formula, then figure out all the pieces that you need, substitute them in, plug them into the calculator, and that is all you need to do to find the surface area. So do those 3, and that is the end of this lesson. In this lesson, you've learned how to find the surface area and the volume of cones. Now, go enjoy some ice cream. Happy practicing.